one of the most important issues is the number of people. In a sense, the number of people is also very interesting from a business point of view because you could always regard it as a customer base. The essential observation is that the number of people on the globe is exploding. In 1965, there were 3 billion people. At the moment, is 7 billion. So it more than doubled in this very short period of time. And in 2050, maybe 10 billion. So maybe another 3 billion will come on top in the next 40 years. A quite small group was able to essentially get all the resources of the world because your standard of living is very closely related to your share of resources. Jack Neiring, he discovers a phenomena which I want you to keep in your mind forever. It's maybe the most important insight. It's a so-called boomerang or rebound effect. And the boomerang or rebound effect is the observation that while we solve a problem, by solving it, we create a new problem that is bigger than the old problem. Usually, by being more efficient, it becomes cheaper so that we use more of it, and the rate by which we use more is always higher than the rate by which we improve per unit. So that in sum total, we use always more resources, the more resource efficient our technology is. We are not at the point as a humankind that we could have a non-growth policy. We have billions of people that are poor and they have a legitimate claim to a reasonable living, and there is no chance at all if we not have a considerable growth over the next decades. So the essential issue is not no growth. The essential issue is not extend the footprint. We must manage with the footprint we have the growth. And this is called green growth. Essentially, it is an issue of governance. So while technology is necessary to have a necessary and sufficient framework for sustainability, you need the innovation in technology and the innovation in governance. And the innovation in governance is the issue how to organize the world in a way that the big challenges that we have to meet, like feeding 10 billion people, that we can meet those challenges. What we do is we use the plants that we could eat and make a cow digest without pansen, only to create more meat. And then what we do now is we take the wheat, and from the wheat we make a gasoline, which is absolutely ridiculous also from an energy point of view. And in the US, 1/3 to half of all the wheat production is now in gasoline, in biogasoline, in biofuel. And you must keep in mind that if you have 2 tanks of biofuel, the wheat in would be enough to feed 1 person a whole year. So this is called the competition between food and filet and fuel. The issue that drives the situation is, of course, the purchasing power. And the purchasing power on this globe is so unevenly distributed that the premium group of consumers has so much purchasing power that they are able to direct all these resources into their interest, and their interest is not primarily food. Now, food they have anyhow. Their interest is also not primarily beer. They would take premium beer. No, their interest is filet and fuel. We have now a situation where in Germany, per person we have more than 10 tons of CO2 a year. In the US, it's far beyond 20. In India, it's 1.5 tons. The Chinese now have 5 tons. And now many people say the Chinese are the problem because their emissions are growing so fast And now they have already 5 tons. And then the Chinese say, we don't understand the problem. You have 10 tons, we have 5 tons. Where is the problem? Then we say, yeah, it's true, but you so many. Then they say, okay, but it's not our emissions. We produce now for you. So you have 10 tons, but you not even produce. You produce with us. So in a sense, our tons we have to add to your tons. Then we say, no, it's not right because you're so energy inefficient. Per unit value, you have 3 times as much CO2 than we would have if we would do it in our country. Then the Chinese say, this is true, but this is the reason why you come to us. Because we're so cheap, because we not have all this technology, and you always go where it is cheap. So when you come to us, because we are cheap, then it's still your emissions and not ours. You come to the point where the Chinese say, let's agree to disagree. And then we have a proposal. You are all Democrats. Bring all your people with you. We bring all our people with us. And then we do a fair vote. Yeah? And immediately nobody from the rich world anymore wants to talk about democracy. So immediately we understand that is a conflict of interest. And even now the Chinese per person are clearly much below. The Indians are totally below. And it's absolutely legitimate that they want to go for a reasonable standard of living for billions of people, and that will create more CO2 emissions. So if we want a solution in this respect, it will certainly be very complicated. It will need a lot of transfer of technology and money, and exactly this is something the rich world doesn't want to do. The essential issue about the future is the innovation in technology, but also, as I said, the innovation in governance. And the most important aim of innovation in governance must be to take care that every human has enough purchasing power. So the issue of starvation with food is in the end only an issue of purchasing power. And so coming back to the starting point, looking into the future, we can have a reasonable future. In particular because we can have even much better technologies. But we will only make it if the governance is okay, and the governance we need is global governance. And the point where we have the biggest problem at the moment is in the willingness for a fair global governance.